I'm Jim Check. You're watching Kelowna Now. I'm here with Kate Woodman
Yes.
and Helena Protzik. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Close. Both from Okanagan4Ukraine. And
That's
here we are
right.
on the 3rd-year anniversary of the Russian aggression on Ukraine.
Yes.
3 years now.
Yes.
That's a long 3 years and a lot of sacrifices.
3 horrifying years that have impacted every part of society in Ukraine, not just the military at the front, but the citizens whose homes are being bombed, the hospitals that are being destroyed, the schools that have had to go underground, every aspect of Ukraine, the farmers who are planting their fields even in the midst of fire. It's something that I think we in Canada can hardly imagine, and that many Canadians, because of the horror and the extent of it, actually in conversations with us say, we don't want to hear anything more. We can't bear anything more.
So the numbers that I hear are anywhere from 1 million in casualties and deaths on both sides to higher. I mean, I've heard higher numbers, but a lot of people have sacrificed.
Yes.
A lot of people died, a lot of people suffered from war, military both and civilians.
Yeah.
And everyone is affected, not only Ukrainians in Ukraine, but also Ukrainians abroad, those who moved to other countries, fleeing from the war. They also are traumatized, and they are also worried about everything that's going in Ukraine.
You're wearing the colors of the Ukraine,
Yes,
the flag.
Ukrainian flag.
How long have you been here in Canada now?
It's about 3 years now.
Yeah.
I came in May 2022.
So you came just after the aggression started?
Yes.
And I imagine your family just wanted to get you out?
Yes, that's true. When the war started, the first day, it will always be in my memory now. It's just in the morning, my parents came, and my mom especially, and she woke us up, and she's like, the war started. And we couldn't even
Surreal,
imagine.
right?
Yeah, because like I heard when I was sleeping, I heard the noise, but I thought that's a plane or something, but just close to the earth. That's why. But those were actually rockets. So we heard those first rockets that targeted Western Ukraine on the first day of war, and then my mom said, like, we were all lost. We didn't know what to do and how to react, whom to talk, where to go. On the first day, so we still were in Ukraine, but then the second day, like the whole night, we were all awake because no one could even sleep.
Yeah.
And then I could remember the trains constantly, because we live in a small town. So the trains were going non-stop. I don't know what was in those trains, but that's just in my memory. And that sound of those trains. And now it associates with something bad.
How old were you at that time?
I was 22. Yeah.
So a kind of a normal life, and then all of a sudden, completely different, right?
Yes.
And you have to leave friends, family,
yes.
everybody, right?
Yes, yes. I'm the oldest in my family, so I was supposed to take care of my siblings. That's all the responsibility passed on me. And from having the fun life in Ukraine, then one day changed everything. And
So any of your family still there?
yes, my parents are still there. My dad is of military age, so
So he's
my mom is a very dedicated person, so she stays with him.
So she just sent the children away,
Yes, yes,
which most parents would do.
yes.
And then maybe speak a bit, Kate, about the charity that you guys are trying to organize here, trying to get status for, and what the purpose of that is.
Yes, we started Okanagan4Ukraine to meet humanitarian needs with the Ukrainians that are here in the Okanagan Valley, and then also in Ukraine. So there's really 3 things that we focus on. We focus on public awareness and learning, because it's really important to us that we amplify the voice of Ukraine, especially today when it's so neglected in the news. So we work hard on that and engaging Canadians to be involved. And the second thing is we support the Ukrainians that are here. There's thousands in the Okanagan Valley, and we're focused on their intermediate needs. The immediate needs for housing and settlement and dishes for the kitchen kind of thing, that's been addressed. But now many highly skilled Ukrainians are living among us and need support in getting those higher level jobs. It's an expensive place to live, we all know that, and the higher level jobs pay more, to recognize the many skills that they brought to our valley. So we're focused on that. And then thirdly, we do have programs for Ukraine itself, and one is a food security one, and the other has to do with rebuild the human lives of civilians that have been injured and lost limbs in the war. So we're working on helping people adapt to prosthesis and the mental trauma that associates with the loss and these injuries. So these are the things that we focus on.
And imagine you have not been back since
I've went once.
you went once.
Yes, after 1.5 years, my heart is always with Ukraine, so I couldn't stand the distance. And despite the danger of going there, I still wanted to go and at least see my parents and make sure they are at least safer, because there is no safe place in Ukraine. So I went there and I saw how it was, how the change was from the first day till the day when I came 1.5 years after that. There was quite a change. As I said, on the first day, we were all lost. We didn't know what to do. People were scared. But when I came back 1.5 years after that, it looked like people adjusted to the circumstances, to the war. Everyone is still scared, of course, but they stood up, and then just did what they did before the war started. They all worked at the jobs that they worked. They volunteered a lot. So looked like they tried to build the life as it was before, even though the circumstances were horrible.
And I think, just to add to what Helena has said, here we are today, and what happened in the United Nations? The United States voted with Russia against acknowledging Russia as the aggressor in the war. That's what happened today, and that's where we are today. So when we talk about the burdens that Ukrainians bear, and this is outside our doors, this is the people living among us, they have seen such a pivot in American foreign policy. And so we were on a webinar from Stanford University that had 4 senior government officials on it, talking about today, how people are feeling today in Ukraine. And they concluded by saying, you can't shock. It'll be 50 years before you're going to be able to shock the people of Ukraine, because they have had to adjust to the betrayal of the Budapest Agreement, in which the UK and the US promised to protect Ukraine should they be invaded, and that has been ignored. In the first 3 years of the war, the West has drip-fed Ukraine what it needs. It's about keeping them in the battle and sustaining them. It's not about victory. And now the US, well, it has threatened Canadian sovereignty, Greenland's sovereignty, Panama's, Mexico's. This is now today the geopolitics of the world that we live in. And the burden on Ukrainians, as they already have this terrible anticipatory grief, whether they're living in Kelowna or living in Lviv or anywhere in Ukraine, that a friend or a beloved family member will be killed, and the actual trauma of the war itself. So it's time, and this is the message of Okanagan4Ukraine. We stand with Ukrainian sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the right to choose their alliances, whether it's the EU or NATO or whoever. But it's time to act, because what we've been doing to this point will not get that country to victory, and Canadians and people in Kelowna have a voice in this. There's lots Kelowna can do. So we really look and invite Canadians in this area to work with us to make a difference.
There is a vigil tonight at 5 o'clock
There
at
is.
the Kelowna City Hall.
Yeah.
Again, I did a close to an hour-long live stream with Dennis.
Excellent.
And
Yeah,
Kelowna
Kelowna Stands with Ukraine has
Yeah.
done an amazing job. Yeah.
And we talked a lot about the political side of it
Mhm.
this morning, and he does see some hope. I know the
Yeah.
picture you just painted doesn't seem very hopeful, but he does.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Helena, what you can think, because today Macron, who tried to do a peace deal a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
President
Yeah.
Macron was
Yeah.
in Washington today, meeting with Trump, President Trump, and it seemed like
Yeah.
that they think they can get a deal done, and you know, Dennis was saying like peace is what Ukraine needs, and obviously, you know, he said then we just wait out, you know, Putin the clock. Nobody can cheat the clock, and and hopefully, you know, it's a terrible, terrible situation, and I can't even come close to thinking of what you must feel, because I know you've lost probably a lot of people that you know.
That's true. I have a lot of, even people of my age who are there at the front line, still fighting for Ukrainian freedom. And my friends, relatives, everyone, and it's so hard to see those who are already dead, even unknown people, both military and civilians. And the deals that they are trying to make right now, they don't look really fair to those people who already died.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I guess
It's because
and the
they're
other
not.
and the other side of it though is how many more have to. Do you know what I mean? Do you know that that's and
But that's not a question for Ukrainians. That's our question.
right.
That's us standing up
Yeah.
because victory is possible, and that's the security.
Yeah.
And
But,
that's to me the hope.
Yeah. And I get that. And you guys are doing the humanitarian side of it, so we'll try to
Yes.
stay there
Yes.
and not the political, because we can't do much, and I understand the grief that you must feel, and again, not knowing, especially if your dad's serving, right?
He's not serving, not my
Oh, is it
dad.
military age?
Yeah, but he's just of military
Oh, okay,
age.
okay. So he's not
Yeah.
serving at this moment.
He's not serving at this moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct.
But you know, I'm sure there's a lot of uncertainty there. I know, like, because they can attack any city at any time, right? Although Kiev seems to be, like Dennis was saying, Kiev seems
has
to be
good-
pretty. It's
good
random
defense.
attacks or whatever, like, you know, like a building
Yeah.
or two. It's not
Yeah.
like a concentrated, like, you know, what we knew in World War II, where it's.
Yeah.
But he said in the eastern part of Ukraine, the cities are just decimated,
leveled.
just leveled, just
Well, and
completely gone.
I think the thing that we can't, like, if we want to be in reality about what's happening, we can't ignore the fact of Putin's aim, which he has published and he has said repeatedly, which is to destroy Ukraine. It's not just to take a bit of land. It's not just that. It is to eradicate the culture, the people, the memory of Ukraine, which is particularly poignant, I think, for Canada because of the massive diaspora. You know, people have been coming from Ukraine, fighting these battles for existence. This is existential. So we can't pretend that that's not the case, even when our focus is humanitarian. It's the knowledge and the amplifying the voice of Ukraine piece of what we do, which has to bring this hard message to Canadians because we need to act.
Yeah. So, Helena, what are you're working? I take it here in Kelowna.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's about 1,000, I understand, Ukrainians in the area here.
We have quite a lot of Ukrainians. The community is big.
Yeah.
We try to stay all together. We have different social events to keep each other.
Right. What can the average Kelownian do to help the 1,000 Ukrainians that are here,
Yeah.
and how can you support Ukraine from here?
Just stay aware of what's going on in Ukraine. Always check the news.
Keep it
I
top
would
of
say.
mind,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Because I have a lot of people asking me, is the war in Ukraine still going on? And it really hurts
No.
because it never stopped even for a second.
The war not to take away from that war, but the war in Gaza and Israel, and that has kind of taken a lot of the media attention, and they're kind of
Yeah.
looking over there, and Ukraine has kind of been, I don't, not forgotten, but not in the front
Not
of the news
in the
as
forefront. Yeah.
Israel has been in more in the front of the news.
Yeah.
And people forget that, you know, the sacrifices being made in Ukraine is, you know, like not since like World War II kind of thing.
Oh,
It's horrific, right? That's
absolutely.
happening, right? So
absolutely.
and it is hard to stay. People get fatigued too, right? You know, even like you say, people adjust in Ukraine. They're just because they get fatigued, right? You
Yeah.
kind of you start to adjust to a different way of life, and people.
And it's their way of fighting too,
Yeah,
because
for sure.
It's resistance.
Otherwise, mentally,
Yeah.
you would lose
It's
your mind,
resistance.
right?
Yeah.
Like if you you know, like it's completely taking over your whole existence. So how can people here support the 1,000 Ukrainians that are here?
Well, it can feel overwhelming. First of all, I want to
Yeah.
acknowledge that it can feel really overwhelming here when you stop and you really look at what's happening and the implications of it, and that can cause us all to just want to just back away and isolate from the situation.
Right.
But there are lots of Ukrainian serving organizations in this area and other groups like Kelowna Community Resources. I think one of the things we're discovering is a really important thing, and people of Kelowna did tons when they first started coming and took them into their homes for 3 months, and this was wonderful. But now today, to befriend the neighbor who's outside your door, to help them with their English language, do conversational English with them, have them in your home. These are things we can do. These are things Canadians are good at. We're a hospitable people. And it's simple and it's not expensive. But you can also support groups like Okanagan4Ukraine that are doing our best to provide trauma-informed training to key groups like school teachers who have, there's over 300 children to senior high kids in our schools, and they need to be understood as experiencing war trauma and anticipatory grief, and have supports in the school that know how to respond to that. So, you know, these are things that people can help us deliver these trainings through donations.
And the website is Okanagan4Ukraine with the 4, right?
Yeah.
.org.
But we worked with the Okanagan regional library, and there's now over 110 books in Ukrainian children's literature in Ukrainian languages, so these kids can keep their
It's a
language.
beautiful, rich culture, though, too.
Oh,
right?
it's an amazing culture.
You know,
yeah.
and there's a lot of hotbeds
amazing
in
people.
Canada too, like Vegreville, right? Have you been to Vegreville?
I haven't.
You've
but
seen
I've
the egg,
heard,
though. You've
Yeah,
heard
I've
of the giant
a
egg?
lot.
Everybody's seen the egg.
They have a festival, right?
They do,
Yeah,
yes.
they do.
I've been to Vegreville many times, and
Yeah.
that egg, the giant egg, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, the culture of Ukraine is very rich, right?
Yes.
And very colorful as well, right?
Yes.
And
Yes, and we celebrate that.
and the land there is some of the best land in the world. They were actually selling some of that topsoil, right?
That's why everyone wants that land,
That's
because
why
it's
over
very rich.
centuries, yes,
It is one
absolutely.
of the it is one of the more resource-rich nations in the world, right?
Yeah, and that's why Okanagan4Ukraine is working on helping them set up, because so much has been destroyed, a facility to be a lab to grow at EU standard seed potatoes, so that people can eat and trade can happen.
And not to drive fear into people's minds, but Ukraine shares a border, and it kind of, there's like three, like Russia wraps around Ukraine, right? And it's kind of like the way the border works there. But we also have to remember that Canada shares one of the largest borders with Russia.
Yes.
And most people forget that Canada shares in the Arctic there.
Yeah.
And the Russians
That's right.
have nuclear icebreakers and nuclear submarines that patrol the Arctic all the time, and Canada has 0 nuclear icebreakers or submarines. So we rely on our American friends there to help us in the north there, right? So.
And we really, as Canadians, need to understand the fragility of that in today's world. We do. And this is again where
As that passage, as that passage opens up with climate change,
absolutely
the passage is becoming more and more important in
accessible.
the economic
Yeah.
sense of the world too, because that is a shorter passage for trade
Yeah.
than the Panama
Than the
Canal or
Panama
anything
Canal.
like that. That the top of the world is the it would become, if it's opened, with icebreakers or what have you, would become the number one most important economic passage in the world.
Well, I don't know how fearful, we should speak here, but if you look at the map, and if there is, and if it's going to be firmed up, an alliance between the U.S. and Russia, Russia has easy access to us through Alaska, and of course the States through the
We won't
south.
go that far. The Americans have been our friends for a long time.
They
and I don't
have.
think,
Okay.
I don't.
We hope that
we don't.
proves stable, but we
I-
can't also pretend that President Trump and Elon Musk aren't accountable for the words that they speak and the trouble they cause.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I don't think there's never been a threat that the Americans wouldn't support, and I don't think we should go there. But that's a different world. But we do rest under the umbrella of
We
NATO,
do.
and we do rest under the umbrella because our military has been neglected for a long time here in
Yes.
Canada.
But they are actively recruiting as we speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
which is
it's
good.
a very small
Which is-
military here
yeah,
in Canada.
it is.
55,000, under 55,000. So
I know.
very small, right?
Yeah.
But let's stick with the humanitarian side of this. Helena, 3 years, and right now you can't really see an end, I'm sure. Do you know what I mean? But an end would be great, right?
Yeah, it feels like it will last forever, and because there is no much hope, but there is no much hope on the one hand, and there is great hope on the other hand that
I agree.
this will.
We can always hope for a better tomorrow,
Yes,
right?
of course,
Yeah.
that this will end and Ukraine will win, and we all pray for that.
Yes. I would say we can hope for a better tomorrow, and we can co-create that better tomorrow.
I think, yes, if we raise our voice, that's for sure. And I think, and I have great hopes for peace there because one more person lost is one too many.
Yes.
So
yes, absolutely.
let's hope for better. Anyway, we do thank you for coming in. And again,
thank you for having
you
us.
guys are going to be there at 5 o'clock, which is 40 minutes from now, so I won't keep you too long because I'm sure that you want to get out there and hopefully a lot of people in Kelowna, if you're listening and if you have a chance. It doesn't take long. You can drive down to City Hall, Stewart Park, beautiful place too, and you can go there and show your support for a nation that has spent 3 years trying to defend itself from one of the world's superpowers, and it's it's like Canada trying to defend itself against the Americans, and they're a superpower.
Yeah.
And and you're a small nation, and it's really a David and Goliath type story.
But David won. Remember that.
I do.
But Ukraine is doing that for themselves, but they're doing it for us too, because they're standing up for rule of law, for democracy, for freedom, for sovereignty, and we owe them a huge debt of gratitude.
We do thank you both for coming in, and Helena, my heart goes out to you and all your countrymen that are suffering at this point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we hope for a better tomorrow, and we do thank you for watching Kelowna Now.
That's right.
Just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.